Find us on Facebook at Freelancer Codex, or send emails to freelancercodex@gmail.com. Strap into your javelins and let's drop in.
Welcome, freelancers, to a very special episode of the podcast. This is episode 90 of the Freelancer Codex podcast, the longest running Anthem podcast on the internet. And that's pretty cool because we've been covering this game for a really long time. It's been 118 days since the game has been released on Origin Access Premier. That is a lot of days. Does it feel like it's been 118 days to you guys? We'll start with Mike, who's obviously the most athletic freelancer out there. Mike, does it feel like it's been that long?
No, not really. It's kind of not eye-opening, but just kind of surprising that it's been that long. It doesn't seem like that long ago that we first jumped in and found out everything that we could about Anthem. So it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. But 118 days is a long time.
It's true. We'll ask Devon. He's the fluffy freelancer. Devon, does it feel like it's been that long, or has it just been super short to you?
I don't know. I mean, it seems like the game did come out a long time ago. You know, when I think back to that first crazy weekend that Mike and I had, you know, after Steven's graphics card died.
Yeah, that was bad.
I mean, like we put in 40 plus hours by Monday morning.
Oh yeah, it
And,
might have been more than that actually.
yeah, it's just crazy. Like there's just played it so much, and it does really seem like a long time ago. And but I mean, it's cool.
Yeah, JD, what about you? You're the absolute unit freelancer. How does it feel to you? Has it felt like it's been that long? I mean, you got to play less time. You only got 111 days, so I guess obviously it's less for you. But does it feel like it's less?
I mean, it feels like it's weird because I've had a lot of things happen since the game released that, like, for example, like I wasn't an uncle when the game released. I was a rookie teacher. I hadn't had as many like experiences like in my career, like personally yet. So like there's a bunch of milestones that have passed since then that make it feel longer, but instinctually I still just want to say no because I was initially surprised when you said 118 days. That seems like a bigger number than it should be, but I guess it is.
It's going by really quick, and I am your host, Steve, the Dadbot Freelancer. Devon, I'm going to let you explain the story behind our names. Because I forgot to do this before the show, but we have a giveaway, and I've got to set all these links up. So I'm going to let you explain that before we get to our giveaway.
Okay, so EA Play.
And you don't have to tell the person that actually said this. We can keep that anonymous for a little bit, right?
Yeah, we'll keep it.
Until I punch that person in the pants next time we see him.
Next time. Yeah. So at EA Play, we had a great time, and then after EA Play, we went out to dinner. A group of us that were there, and as the evening was drawing to a close, we were all saying goodbye, and because we're all going our separate ways. And he turns and looks, to Mike, and he says, "Oh, it's goodbye." Obviously, the most athletic freelancer. to which Steven says, "What?" And he just is like, "What?" He turns and looks at him. He's like, "Well, I mean, you just look, like a dad." And so Steven became the dad bod freelancer, and I gave myself the fluffy freelancer name. But it was a long 12-hour drive for Mike because on the way back, because every time he said something, I always said, "Well, listen, okay, most athletic freelancer," or something else. It was really funny. Steven was a little sad for a while.
I mean, it kind of, you're like, hey, you're just the dad bod freelancer, and like, oh, like dad bod kind of has a negative connotation. It doesn't. I mean, it's a dad bod. So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go over here. And I guess I think the story is really funny because this person didn't remember Mike's name, so just on the spot came up with, oh, you're obviously the most athletic freelancer. And
I was trying to leave that part out, Steven. All right. No.
I mean, what else do you
I
do?
didn't realize that part of it.
I mean, that's just me reading into the situation, or else why do you come up with the nicknames like, "Hey, see you later"?
I mean,
obviously the most athletic freelancer.
It could have just been, like last minute flattery. But to be fair, if I was in that situation, I could remember somebody's name. I would also just like choose like a compliment that like you're too busy focusing on the compliment to realize the fact that I don't remember who you are.
What? Anyway.
But we decided, right? We made a deal. So Mike's decided he's going to just eat candy bars and ice cream till next EA Play and gain some weight. Steven's going to get yoked, and I'm going to lose weight. So
I ran yesterday. I ran a mile yesterday, and I did stairs. I ran a mile and a half today. So, yes, I am going to, by this time next year, I will not be the Dadbot freelancer. So,
Devin, you and me next year, EA Play, just showing off our 6-packs. Let's do it.
Well, we might scare a few people.
Yeah,
but I always said it's better to have a keg than a 6-pack, right? Right?
Is it really better?
It depends on the party.
So
hey, Steve, do we have like an awesome giveaway that we're gonna do here, like right now?
Oh, Mike.
we're actually going to do it right now. The most impatient freelancer, Mike.
Yeah.
So we've got a card box with some dice that we're going to do a giveaway on right now. So we made these things up. We like giving stuff away on the show. We've done it a bunch of times. We're going to do it here now. So really quick, I sent out a tweet, and all you had to do was follow and retweet that thing, and live in the United States. And so the winner of this is actually
It's gonna be me.
Francisco Velasquez. So that is Frankville92. We are gonna send a message out to this person, and they won this awesome giveaway. So, and we'll do we'll do a bunch more of these in the future because that's what we like to do. We love giving back to the community. All right, so real quick, we had a lot of things happen over the last weekend. We did an interview that we posted with Ben and Chad. We got to go down to EA Play. We got to do a couple capture sessions. We got to talk with the developers and a feedback session. Some of those things that we cannot talk about because of non-disclosure agreements. This, to a lot of people, automatically gives us no credibility and makes us a shill because we're invited out by EA.
I had a bad experience on Reddit.
You got to stay away from the subreddit, Steve. You got to stay.
To people that think that, I don't know what to tell you. I wish you good luck. You probably weren't part of our community anyway, so I guess don't let the door hit you on the way out. One of the things that we talked about a lot when and I don't know why I need to talk about this, but I kind of need to talk about it because it's been on my mind for a little while. When we were talking about getting EA or game changer status, a lot of the times we would come, it's like, well, if we're game changers, do we lose credibility? Is it always going to be like, oh, you're in the back pocket of EA, you can't, you're always going to say nice things about them? I'm pretty sure that hasn't been the case on this show. We've been pretty critical, pretty honest in all of the feedback that we've given them. So if you think that we are, I'm sorry. I guess you could call us out on it, but I don't. We've never been, none of our listeners, none of the community members that we have ever said, hey, you guys are too easy on this. We had a community member, one of our, we could say Rusted came to us. He's like, guys, I've been pretty negative on the game. I don't want that to affect your game changer status. And we talked with Rusted and said, you know what? If us being negative or honest about the feelings that we have towards Anthem would get us kicked out of the program, then it's not a program that we want to be a part of anyway. And it would be no skin off of our back, right?
Yep.
So I got into it with someone that was saying that, hey, you know what? These people were fired because they were negative. You should care about this. And, I was honest. I said, you know what? I don't care. There's almost 2,000 game changers. A lot of stuff happens with all of them. This is just me being honest, but I don't follow all of them. I don't care
I don't even know who all of them are.
I don't know who all of them are. And I know it sounds bad when I say that I don't care, and then maybe I should care about something, but I'm like, you know what? Also, at the end of the day, I don't care because this one person got negative reviews, and then afterwards they went back and changed their review after they lost that status. I don't know what that says about them that, okay, they were, limiting their, I don't know. I didn't read into it. I didn't do any research on it because I don't care and I don't want to know about it. And at the end of the day, I was thinking about, well, should I care? And I was like, well, no, this isn't like a human rights issue, that I really should care about.
We don't even know if that's the whole story, right? That's whatever they said. It's obviously a one-sided story, of reports of what he said and what everybody's running with. So we don't know. And
a general rule of thumb, I don't believe anything that I read on the internet anyway. So if I wanted to take the time to do the research, I guess I could do that, but I don't because I don't care. If you think that's bad, message me and tell me if you do.
If I may, even if there is any kind of perceptible difference in how we address certain things or how we phrase certain things, the whole thing is that if anything, that just comes from a point of our personal preference when it comes to how civil we choose to be in our interactions with anybody. The whole thing is that I have been in very few situations where I have felt the need to be as nasty as some of the people that I see online. And the thing that some people got to remember is that if we are not as harsh as we possibly could be, and harsh meaning using more harsh language, using hammering in certain points the way how they're hammered in by other people online. You have to remember that we're not just people online that have been talking to faceless developers whose names we have only seen on a screen. These are real people to us that we have met, we have shook hands with, we have spoken to. These are people that we cannot forget are people. And I know a lot of people forget that they're dealing with real human beings when they're on the other side of a computer screen. We are very much aware of the fact that they are people. We are not going to call the developers of BioWare like talentless hacks because we don't like the way how loot is balanced. Okay, that's just not us. I know it's certainly not me. Like, if there's any perceptible difference, it's just a personal preference of how we like to treat people, especially those we've actually met.
Yep.
I think a lot of times we confuse like harsh language for criticism. It's like, I don't need to say, hey, you're an effing idiot, this is broken, fix it, to like get the point across. I mean, it's very much like, hey guys, this is what I think of this is my feedback. I mean, you don't have to be that guy in order to get your point across. So anyway, so if you have questions, comments, if you want to talk about that, you can send us a message, send us an email. You can even leave us a voice message at 505-386-7917. You can do that, and that will be fun. We'll read it on the show. Someone actually left us a voicemail the other day wanting to reach out and contact, but I was not able to get their email address. So if that was you, please send it again, and maybe just shoot us an email at freelancercodex@gmail.com. All right. Lots of things to talk about. First thing we're going to do, we're going to talk about the PTS Cataclysm, all right? Because that's the most fun thing. Mike, unless you had something to say. Nope. So we're going to talk about the Cataclysm. Then we're going to talk about EA Play. Then we're going to talk about the predictions that we did a couple episodes back. We're going to see who won those. And then we are going to, I think we're going to do a little bit of a lore section, and then we'll kind of go from there. Because I've been reading a ton of the lore lately. Recently, Cameron Dayton put a challenge up on Twitter and said, hey, answer these 3 questions, and whoever answers these questions correctly will become the lore master for the month. So the first 2 questions were pretty easy. They were about Helena, and they were about the first Freelancer, Medideron. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And then he said, hey, what is the name of the planet? Everyone has access to it. Everyone has seen it. You'll be able to read it. So a bunch of people on the internet were, reading everything that we could. We were going through the Codex. We were going through the art book. We were going through the comics, trying to find this stuff. Turns out Cameron posted the name of the planet in a tweet where the ciphers were talking to each other, and the name of the planet was Coda, C-O-D-A. Mm-hmm. Now, I asked the dev at EA Play. It's like, why did you guys take so long to reveal the name of the planet? Like, why was it such a big secret? And they're like, well, we didn't want to share everything at once. Okay, whatever. So that was their reasoning, I guess. So they didn't want to share everything.
There's a lot to share, right?
There is a lot to share, but this is something that we were asking like from the very beginning when the name Miris popped up on the website, and we're like, is the name of the planet Miris? Doesn't matter. Is the name of the continent? But now we have the name, so now we can move on with our lives, and we can all not lose all that sleep. All right, so Cataclysms first. I want to talk about everything that there is in the Cataclysm. Specifically the Cataclysm event. Well, you can talk a little bit about the free play event later on if you guys want to do that, if we have time. But I want to talk about the new play space, the puzzles that we have, the enemies that we're fighting, the secrets, and I guess we could talk about the bad guy at the end if we want. Or do you guys think
it's not final, right? So there's no point in really talking. It's not final, so I don't really see any point in talking about it.
Okay, we won't talk about the boss until they get all that fixed. So new play space. Michael, I want to know your opinion on the play space that we have now during this Cataclysm.
I enjoy going around it. It's new. New is always fun. It's got some new elements in it. It has beaches, which is a new terrain that we have not seen before. And then you go into caves and you find different things. It's got definitely some verticality in it, which I always seem to get lost in because I don't forget that there's verticality, but I have a hard time always looking up. So that is sometimes confusing, especially when Devon's like, follow me, and then he's gone, and then you're like, where'd you go? There's definitely deep water. There is lots to do under the water. There is an element of time involved in this new area that you don't really have enough of, unless you're looking for the safe bubbles and and I think those are a little too far apart, but but overall, in general, it plays very fun. It's enemy heavy, enemy dense. There's lots of cool things in there, lots of great directions that this area can go, and so it's a fun place. If you haven't had a chance, get a PC and jump in, get that PC access, and have some fun, because it really is the most
JD's
fresh.
upset.
Well, I mean, it really is. I mean, the most fresh thing to do, and it's fun. And I hope we do get a chance to talk about the actual free play Cataclysm events that are going on, because I find that those are just as much, if not more fun. So,
Well, I think. Oh, sorry, guys, I'm stuck in my throat. What was I going to say? If Anthem comes to Stadia or xCloud, maybe everyone will get access to that because they can just, jump on Anthem from anywhere. Hold on, I'm going to cough, so you guys keep talking. Devin, give us your opinion.
All right, so I really have a lot of fun in the Cataclysm. I don't know if it's a bug. I don't want to spill the beans on this because it might ruin my experience. No, but I'm sure it's probably a bug. But basically,
It has to be a bug. There's no other explanation for it.
As the Interceptor, I can play the Cataclysm on normal and explore the whole time without dying, as long as I don't get. It's weird when I say it. I can explore without dying as long as I don't get hit, right? So
the storm is not killing you.
Yeah, the storm is not. Well, I mean, it destroys all my shields, and but then I don't lose any health, right? And I've had the health UI bug and different things where it's shown, millions of health things, and then what looks regular, and but I can cruise on through on normal, and it doesn't kill me, so I can just keep exploring. And if I do start losing health, there's also orbs within the Cataclysm that can replenish your health and also get rid of the storm effect. And so I know I've played it a lot in the last couple of days, and so I know where most of those items are. So it's easy for me to get stuff, but I mean, it's still a lot to explore, a lot of things to figure out, a lot of puzzles to do. It's really fun. They put a lot of neat stuff into it, and it's not even fully complete yet. This is just this version, and they keep changing things. Like yesterday, there was only so many events to do, and now there's more today. So it's a lot of fun playing.
Today they opened up all of them. So really what you're doing, Devin, you're living the best freelancer life to where you can go into the storm, explore without the fear of dying, so you can get all this exploration done. Because one thing that we have been doing over the last couple of days is building a map, marking where all points of interest are, where all the teleporters are. And there's a lot of teleporters in this
where
thing.
they go.
I think we're up to like 6 different sets of teleporters, so that's 12 teleporters all over the map. There's little areas where you collect 3 echoes in the vicinity, and you put them into the thing, and out pops. What do you get when you put them into the thing, Devin? You get extra time?
No, you don't get any extra time for this, but they'll drop. So they drop 4 other orbs inside of a circle. Well, it's 6 orbs. There's 4 that drop first that give you points towards your multiplier and also your score, and then the second 2 that drop, it's all placeholder art for this stuff, but the second set that drops replenishes your health and the benefit from the storm, so the storm effects go away. And there's 3 different ones that are in there, and I was able, exploring, I was able to find all the echoes for these locations. And I mean, we don't know if anything's going to change post PTS, like if they're going to move any stuff around or anything, but right now it is what it is. And so I'm able to go through, find all those spots. And there's also the relics, right? Those give you additional 1 minute, and there's 3 so far.
Runes.
The runes, yeah, not relics, yeah. Those give you a minute of extra time, and I found 3 of them so far. There's 4, but a 4th one doesn't work. So
yeah, that's the one that I found that doesn't work. So
the one that's on the ground by the tree.
The play space area, it's large, but I also, like you, Mike, I feel like if you just wanted to go in for the sole purpose of exploring the area, that's very difficult to do because the bubbles are spread out. I mean, you might be able to fly in between a couple of them, but really, if you want to get around fast in this space, you have to use the teleporters to do that.
Yep.
And that doesn't really lend to the idea of, hey, I want to explore this. Because a lot of times, once you start exploring something, you see a path, By that time, if your game is not bugged like Devon is, then the storm just kills you. And you can either like save up your super or your ultimate, so you can pop your ultimate before you die, and that extends a little bit of the time that you get to explore. But I would almost rather, if you wanted to explore, maybe if you're playing on easy, that kind of increases the time before the storm kills you. Because currently, if you go from easy to Grandmaster 3, that duration is the same amount of time. You'll die in the same amount of time on those difficulties.
Well, you can
So I
also
would
get those same orbs that get rid of the effects from enemies. When I kill a lot of those, it shows up as scorpions, but they're elementals. Right now, it's tracking them as scorpions, but they're elementals, and so I kill a lot of them, and every group there's at least one orb that will get rid of the storm effects and heal you. So I mean, there's ways to get around. I mean, obviously on the higher difficulties, it's going to be more strenuous against you, but that's why the whole thing is, it's meant to be played with a team so that you can help each other out. But
right, and I think that should be stressed. Like this is not single player content. It's not 2-player content.
it is for me right
Some
now.
of these, yeah, and it is for me also. Just because we're exploring, we're trying to find these things so that when the Cataclysm does release, we're going to be able to pick the best pass. We'll know where everything is, and you can kind of min max. Hey, this is where we're going to go. You take care of this. You take care of this. So and I'm enjoying that. I do like it. I just wish I could explore more. I mean, it's a weird complaint. It's not even like a valid complaint. Like, hey, I don't like this. It's just because of what it is right now and what I'm doing. The Cataclysm doesn't lend itself to exploration right now. And that's just because, well, it's not supposed to.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be under the clock. You're supposed to be going for a score, and you're supposed to be communicating with your team. So the play space area I really enjoy, but you're right, Mike, some of those bubbles are pretty far apart. But maybe once we figure out, exactly where you need to go, we'll work that stuff out. So JD, what do you think about the play space area?
I thought it was pretty awesome. I mean, mind you, at EA Play, I was really experiencing it for the first time because, as we mentioned in other podcasts, I don't play on PC, so I don't have access to the PTS. I really liked it though. In terms of the overall atmosphere of the Cataclysm area, it really felt like an unstable and wild storm. Like everything from the lighting to like the actual like the effects of the storm. And correct me if I'm wrong, but like in the PTS, do they have all the full visual effects for the storm running yet?
Nope.
No, they do not.
No. So we're not even seeing like the full like devastating appearance of the storm, which is incredible to me because it had the right atmosphere in my book. I like the landscape. It's not as big as some of the other areas. I mean, it's not as big as Bastion, obviously, but it's very vertical. It's very vertical. Like that one area where you do the Echoes puzzle, that's like really high up from where you start, and that's awesome. Like I love that. Like some things are like right at sea level. Other things are like about halfway up. Some things are like super high up. I really enjoyed that. I like the rain. I like the underwater areas. The underwater areas feel pretty cool. I really can't wait to see more of it. Much of EA Play was basically just me looking at everything going, yeah, I need to build a new PC. I need to get on this. I need to be there. I want to be where the people are. I want to see them dancing.
It's funny how they can have the effect on that. So Mike, let's talk about the puzzles, because there are, let's see, how many different puzzles do we have here? Currently, before today, we only had access to 3 of them. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them, plus the boss at the end. Yep. So we have 7 different puzzles. Mike, do you want us walk us through the first 3 that we encountered and kind of go through the mechanics of them?
So the 3 that we had when we first jumped into the PTS, when it went live, this was the Tuesday before EA, so we were able to play it for a little bit. So it went live and we jumped in, and the first area that we went to was an area that we called the Pylons. I don't remember what the name is on the map.
I think that's the approach.
The approach? Okay, so the approach, This puzzle is a Pylons puzzle, and there are enemies surrounding 7 pylons that you have to interact with. And when you interact with them, they start to go down. And in order to break the shield against in order to break a shield around a crystal that we're supposed to destroy, all 7 pylons have to be down. The thing with these pylons is once you start sending them down, they'll stay in the ground for a little bit, but then they'll start to come back up. So it's a timed thing and it's a coordination thing, making sure that, because if I start putting my 2 pylons down before we're ready, by the time everybody else is ready to put their pylons down, mine will be back up and we'll have to start the puzzle over. So this one is pretty easy to do. If you have a nice system, taking the pylons down in a clockwise and or counterclockwise circle, however your team decides to do it, is the best way to do it. You put someone on ad control and they take care of enemies. You put someone on the node up at the top control to make sure that you can survive the storm long enough to complete the puzzle. But also so that node is up, so you get the plus multiplier by the time the puzzle is completed. So there's kind of a game there that you have to do to make sure that the timing is all down the way it's supposed to. So this one's pretty straightforward. You put the pylons down, you shoot the thing, you move on to the next area.
So I tried doing this one by myself as a storm. I don't know if the Interceptors is slightly faster if you can do its triple dash, but I was not able to do this by myself as a storm. There's just not enough time. It actually takes quite a few seconds for the pylons to go down. So single player storm, you need someone else or else you will not be able to complete this. I don't know, Devon, did you try to do it with the Interceptor solo?
Yeah, it's easy to do with the Interceptor. So also, I've done it a couple times, and the last one is always slow to register. So I'll be going around, and I hit the last one, and I'll count, put it on the counter. It still says 6 of 7 complete, and I'll be boosting around trying to find where did I miss one, and then it just clicks and goes through. But the triple dash I can pretty much triple dash between each individual pylon with no issues, and I think the real issue here is going to be finding the balance, especially when all of the events are up and available, because you're trying to get the highest score, but also completing one of the events adds time to what you're doing. So you can't, but it also boosts your multiplier, and so it's going to be tricky of, okay, how quickly do I complete this, and also do I kill all the ads and let them come in a couple waves first to get more points. And so I think it's cool. It's going to give us a lot of things to try to do trial and error on and find what's best for getting the highest score. So
that will definitely be interesting. So the next puzzle, this one's pretty straightforward, and we've done this before. I think you do it in the Sunken Cell. You do the same puzzle. Mm-hmm. So the echoes, Mike, you want to give us a rundown on the echoes? This was a fun one. I think this puzzle will probably break teams.
So, yeah.
This is the puzzle that we call the echoes. And what area is it in, Steve?
In Hope Shattered.
This is up in the it's in Hope Shattered? Yep, it's Hope Shattered.
In Hope Shattered, this is one that we call the echoes.
Like Hope Solo, but she's not playing. Anyway. Sorry.
So there are 6.
I didn't get my soccer joke in. Mike, anytime now.
Mike's you done? You gonna stop interrupting?
You good?
I mean, it's funny because you do it to me all the time. So, I mean, really, you are the most impatient freelancer today. So if you want to carry on, we can go ahead with the echoes.
So the echoes there are 6 echoes above ground that have to be taken in a specific order. There are actually 3 echoes above ground, right, Devon?
4.
There's 5.
See, I'm super unclear.
Well, there's 5 total, but there's 4 above ground, and you have to take 2 underneath to get the 5th.
Okay, gotcha.
Because one is locked behind a couple doors that the echoes are used to open.
All 4 of
and
them
then
down there.
So you open doors, you get the echo out of its echo chamber, you pull it back out, and you take it up top, and they're in different places, and you have to stand on plates to open up echoes, and it's and it can be very, very frustrating when you're playing with someone who may have been playing for the first time and didn't really know exactly what to do.
JD, what?
So
That could be
there's that.
frustrating.
There's that.
Nothing you can
This
do. It's
one,
the first time, right?
this one takes coordination. This one takes communication and making sure that all communicative channels are open and equipment is working. But it's fun. I think this is one of those things, again, with the time that is involved, can be fine-tuned to be done very quickly in order to have all that time left over to defeat the final encounter with time left to add to your multiplier. So it's fun.
And so far, I really do think that this is the puzzle that if it can stop a team that's doing well when they get here and they're not communicating well. This will be the puzzle that breaks up that team because they're not talking about, hey, you're grabbing this one. Okay, we need to put this one down here. We need to move this one down here. You're on the plate. You're off the plate. This will be the one that will require teams to actually, be gelling with each other.
Yeah, I mean, of the first three, that's probably the one. But of the new ones, I think the other one over by New Dawn is going to be worse. So, but we'll
and I haven't done that one yet, so it'll be fun to see. All right, last one, Mike. This is your favorite. This is Mike and Devon's bread and butter here. We would go do this one, and Mike and Devon say, "We'll do this. You guys just shoot, guys."
And it was actually kind of funny because when we first started playing this one, Devon thought there was a more rhyme and reason to it. And so he was telling us, go get this one, make sure you get that one. You have to do this kind of thing. It was only later that we realized, we think anyway, I mean, there could be a mechanic that we're doing that we don't understand, but we think that this one is just timed. There are 4 echoes behind a wall. There are 4
relics.
They are relics. There are 4 relics behind a wall. 2 behind 2. They're in pairs. If you go through the wall with the relic on you, it actually despawns and goes back into its spot. So it's like a force field type thing. So you just have to time it to make sure that you're not going through the wall. But there are 2 walls to get through. You have to take one and jump through the wall to get to a room that is also gated. And when that other wall disappears, you can go deposit it to stabilize the relic. This one could theoretically be done with one person doing the relics, but it definitely would make more sense to do the 2 from one room together. It just speeds things up.
Once you grab one, you can't grab the second one that's in that room.
Right,
so
but
then,
I mean,
so then you would
can't
grab
do this
2,
puzzle.
one from each room. You
Yeah,
could
each
do
room.
it by yourself theoretically, because of the way that it's set up.
Yeah.
You'd have to, and again, when you have relics on your javelin, you can't fly, so that creates a little bit of a thing and adds spawn, and you kind of have to be jumping around a bunch, but it's not amazingly difficult.
Yeah, and another thing that
you're
doing.
This one just takes time.
Yeah, the other thing you're doing with every one of these events is deciding when to shoot. It does it have a specific name? The orb in the sky?
I don't.
It's
If
the
it
giant
does, I
scorpion.
haven't heard it.
Yeah.
If it does, I haven't heard it.
Yeah. So there's basically above every event there's an orb that you can shoot, and it blows up, and then it clears out the storm effects, but it also cuts your multiplier in half. And so the whole goal, obviously, is when the leaderboards and everything go into effect, is to have the highest score possible. So you don't want to shoot that. And when you can't communicate with someone, if you're playing with random people and they just keep shooting that and screwing up your multiplier, which we've experienced when we were playing the first time, it can be frustrating. But so that's also another element that the teams will have to figure out of, okay, when do we shoot this? When do we not? And do we split up? Can we do these on our own? Which ones can we do on our own? And so forth. And like Steve was saying, some javelins aren't going to be able to do specific ones solo. And yeah, I mean, it's difficult to see. And then the same thing goes if you go into a bubble, right? It drops your multiplier down in half, but as soon as they get out, then it's fine. Right. And so
then it's back up.
Well,
yeah.
and that's something that you definitely have to coordinate with, because if you do split up and someone is taking out a large group of ads with an ultimate, they want that multiplier.
Yeah.
But if you're about to die and need to jump into a bubble and you do that, then you just lost out on all those points. So, and that's one of the things that, going out on, if you split up and you're doing, all these different events, each time you complete an event, your multiplier goes up from 1 time to 2 times to 3 times to 4 times, and when you're in the storm, that doubles. So if you do 3 events, you have an 8 times multiplier.
Yep.
But if you're split up, then you're not getting any of those points that you could potentially be getting if you completed each task as a group and then move on to the next one. So it's going to be, like you said, it's going to be really interesting to figure out what the best way to go about this is. Maybe it's you group up 2 and 2, because so far all of these puzzles you can do in pairs. So maybe you split up that way. But then if you're doing that, then you're losing out on half of the points because you don't have that multiplier build up by the time you finish another event. And we'll have to see how big of an effect having more time at the end of the event actually grants you as a bonus.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it does. Like right now, like, so Mulehorn, he posted his video of their stuff from the game capture session, right?
From the capture event.
Yeah, because it was probably fun to do that. And so they had the highest score. It was like 539,000. And they did have that same bug we had where when you kill the boss, it instantly cuts your multiplier in half. So it goes from 8 down to 4. But they finished it with like 6 seconds left. So and they had way more experience playing it than we did. So we don't know if that really affects it. But I don't think the time left over when you're done affects score.
Yeah, and there are actually teams on the leaderboard right now that you can go look at. It'll show you their names. I think we're like ranked at number 100 around there on there. But you can tell that people that actually played at the capture event, because it'll say EA Play or whatever in their number. And there were 2 other teams that were around the 700,000 range. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. I'm excited for it. So the other event that I got into today before we jumped on was over in the where was it? It was in New Dawn, right? New Dawn has there's 4 orbs, there's 4 little balls that you pick up, and this one's pretty much a matching game. You have 4 orbs, you put them on pedestals next to the pictures that we've seen in a lot of the other missions that we've done. You just have to match those symbols up, and there's a puzzle where you have to open the door first, go out and grab the other one, go put them in a couple other pedestals, open those doors before you do the final one. And that one you can do solo, but it takes a long time, because even with just the animation of picking them up and setting them down, it takes a lot of time. So I think you can do this one solo, but I definitely don't think you want to.
Yeah.
If you're really trying to push for a high score.
Yeah, and there's a ton of spots to put them in. There's like I think maybe 12 spots you can put those in to open them up, and so that one can be tricky, right? So.
Yeah. And Mike, JD, I don't think you guys were able to do this one yet, correct?
I haven't done that one, but I did a different one today. I don't know if you had done another new one, but I did a new one that was new besides that one that you just said that was new.
It's a whole lot of new.
A whole lot of new going around here.
I did one with turrets. There was turrets involved, quite a few turrets to destroy, and they're pretty powerful turrets. But they're the way to clear the area. There are 2 interaction plates that you just have to interact with.
Yep.
And they like turn off. And so that's the one that I did today that was new. It sounds like Devon has done that one already too.
Yeah, that one was up by, it was all Dominion you were fighting, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, that's up at the top left of the map, Dominion foothold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. And speaking of enemies, so this cataclysm is very Dominion focused. We have the Dominion trying to alter reality. So the majority of the enemies that we're fighting are Dominion. And I don't know if I mean, it's really early to tell, but I'm not a huge fan of it only being Dominion. I mean, there are some instances where you can spawn some elementals. Those things are all over the place in little groups, and if you kill them, you'll get some bonuses. But also, I did find some wyvern. If you fly up high enough, you will spawn a pack of wyvern. I think there's 8 of them that drop orbs. So I think there's a lot of hidden things that we just haven't found out. There's also an apex creature. There's a legendary bristleback that spawns on one of the beaches near New Dawn that grants a lot of points, which will give a really good high multiplier. And it's kind of interesting that it's like, do you wait to kill all these creatures until your multiplier is the highest? So you want to explore after to pick up all these orbs? Because like you said, Devin, there are runes scattered everywhere and there are bonus orbs.
Yeah.
But do you pick them up now while you're walking by them, or do you spend the time to go out and get them afterwards, right before the boss? And I think that'll play a lot into the strategy of it all. I mean, maybe the best thing to do is get a bunch of interceptors because they're the fastest, and you've got more mobility. So maybe that might be the best route to go, just pure 4 interceptors. So
Yeah.
what do you guys think about all the different enemies then? I mean, do you guys want something different? Because I think it would be really cool if an apex creature spawned at the completion of each of these events, whether it's a fury, whether it's dominion, whether it's a luminary. Well, I guess it wouldn't be a luminary because luminary are scar based, but I think I want more interaction on after you complete the puzzle. I want to like fight a big boss for more points, I guess.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun. I mean,
understand.
we've run across one. I think I've only run across one. I think Mike's run across one as well. It's out
Yeah.
there, but it more creatures. I think would be more apex creatures would even just roaming around in the wild would be great. And I do think like all the elementals they respawn, and so do the I just had a brain fart and can't remember what you just talked about.
Wyverns?
Wyverns, yes. So like I've killed all of them and moved down and completed something and come back and then they all respawn. So, I mean like it's all in testing right now. So, but I mean we don't know if it's just going to keep respawning. So is it good to start and keep going to help increase your multiplier and build that up, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
So,
just something to be tweaked with, and something to fine tune, because I mean maybe it's one of those things where you're not going to have enough time to do all the puzzles and all the apex, but a combination of the puzzles and the apex will get you a higher score, and maybe it comes down to what you have time for.
Yep.
Maybe you can make a run that gives you 3 puzzles and 2 apex, and it'll give you the same kind of score. Again, I mean, it's just different ways to do it, which I think is really neat about this area, because there isn't one set way to do it. Kind of like the big events that we played in Destiny. Those became very, all right, now we're to this stage, now we're to this stage, now we do this. Relic Bearer, pick this up, do all, I mean, and everything was very procedural that way. This way, it seems like things are a little bit more open, doing things in different orders to try to play with that multiplier. And it's fun. It'll keep the newness. And then you can even challenge yourself within your group. This time we're going to try to do it with only doing apex creatures. And again, that would mean that there would have to be more than I think just one. I think I've only seen and heard of one so far in the world, but I haven't
so far,
explored it
that's
all.
okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
but I haven't explored it all. So
out in the
maybe-
wild there's one,
so
but
maybe
I've seen
there is.
furies and other things. But
Yeah, I like that, because you're absolutely right. It ends up making every Cataclysm run feel unique to your group, and like depending on like what kind of people you're playing with, it can really like change your experience, because old things that like what might be easy for one group may not be easy for another, and so the order of how they do things is going to reflect that. And I'm personally really excited to play more of the Cataclysm. I mean, it should be somewhat of an indication that I left EA Play basically like, man, I have got to find the money to build a new PC so I can get on this PTS.
it'll
and
be
play
on
this
consoles
Cataclysm City.
eventually. I mean,
I know it'll be there eventually, but it's still that the remnants of the teenage gamer JD that's like, I gotta get it now. So yeah, I gotta get on that, man. It was so much fun, and I want to play more of it. So
one of the cool things that there are a a lot of secrets that we've been finding. There is a Gravit King running around out there. I have not come across the Gravit King yet. The Gravit King acts like a I just lost what do they call him in Diablo, Devin? A loot goblin.
Yep.
So you hit this Gravit a bunch of times, it starts dropping loot and eventually disappears. So the Gravit King never actually dies. So this is actually kind of cool, and I don't like Gravits. I don't like the idea of a Gravit King, but it is cool for this reason. So the lore of the Gravits in the game is that they are collectors, and they will actually steal items, and they hoard all this stuff. They're like little tiny dragons
perfect
that hoard all this stuff.
loot goblins.
Yeah. Loot goblins. So having a Grab a King in there that actually drops loot that it would have stolen from players and from out in the world makes sense from a lore narrative. So that
Yeah.
part I like. Otherwise, grab it's whatever, they can die in a fire. Also, we found a couple of doors that were hidden underwater somewhere that have switches that we have not been able to figure out how to open those. We found a bunch of other stuff that we're still trying to figure out how to activate and what it does and where it goes to. So these are the kind of things that I'm excited about. If you have an interceptor that doesn't die, it's helpful to explore. So hopefully you guys all have one of that. So real quick, I want to hear you guys' suggestions so far, because this is in a PTS environment. They're looking for feedback, ways to make it better. So what are some of the things that you would suggest right now? And you don't have to go to the whole list that you have, but just give me some ideas of things that you would say, hey, do this, it'll be better. I already said mine. I want mini boss fights after all the puzzles complete, whether it's, a Fury, a Bristleback, or something different. I would like something to do after the puzzle is done. What do you got, Mike?
I'd like to see skins associated with maybe the puzzles. No, I don't. I don't want to see that. I take that back. I don't know.
It's already out there. You
I
can't
think
take it
it's-
back.
I can't take it. It's fine
Recorded.
for now. Like right now, it's fine. I don't think it's complete. I don't think it's super uber polished. So I can't speak to what should be there, because maybe it's supposed to be there and it's just not for, because it is a PTS. I'm
So are you
good with.
saying you'd rather reserve all that until you know, hey, this is what it's supposed to be, then give feedback?
Yeah. I would like to see that. I would like to. Yeah. I mean, I'm cool with that.
Devin, what would you like to see different?
So for me, I would like more variety for enemies. I mean, it's a cataclysm, so right now it's mostly all elementals, and those are cool, but when that's all there is all over the place is elementals, there are some new Dominion, but they're Dominion just with different armor,
Different guns.
a different look, which goes along with the story narratives that will be coming out with the cataclysm. But I still think the storm should be able to bring in more types of enemies and creatures. I would love more variety in there in the cataclysm events, and it goes the same because that also pushes into free play cataclysm stuff, which we probably won't have time to talk about tonight, but it's the same thing. They're all the same type of enemies when you're in the cataclysm type of environment. And so I would like to see more. I just don't want it to be restricted to, okay, here's these two specific types of enemies and that's all you can fight, because it makes it a lot more interesting when it can be randomized where, hey, we're hopping into the cataclysm right now and today it's, putting out whatever, and it's different than what it was yesterday, and that also changes some of the way you're planning things. But I don't know how. I mean, they're keeping all the stuff. They want you to develop a route, and they want you to, make plans and stuff. So I don't know how well that would go with what their narrative they're trying to do. But
Right. Do you think it's just because, hey, this cataclysm is going to be Dominion based. The next one possibly will be Outlaw based. The next one will be Scar based, and they just kind of want you to focus for those 8 weeks on perfect this cataclysm. You'll get all that other stuff in the next one. I mean, is that?
I don't think that's the reason. I mean, because there are some story elements to this.
Yeah.
So it's not just enemies for enemy's sake. I doubt they just drew out of a hat and said this one's Dominion. There are some.
Yeah, it's story related.
It's story based, and
we don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, and it makes sense that the next one will be different and deal with different enemy type. But you're wrong. It doesn't need to be different enemies.
Who's wrong? I'm wrong. You're wrong. We're all wrong. So,
He's saying I'm
do you
wrong.
have any? Do you have any feedback
stuff
with your only mere minutes of
Couple
being able
hours.
to play the TTS?
Hour or two.
Less than that. It wasn't even a couple hours. It was maybe an hour total.
So this is really gonna. I mean, like I know that not everybody feels this way, but for me, I enjoy the fights in Anthem. I really enjoy, taking out ads. And honestly, With some of the puzzles when they were going on in the PTS, what I ended up wanting to do a lot of the time, it like once the ads were gone, didn't really feel like there was much else for me to do, especially since I was like on crowd control basically. So my whole thing is that I feel like there could be more ads, more elite enemies, or something to just keep whoever is on that duty feeling like they're constantly doing something. Because if, with the coordination and stuff, teams usually have certain roles. And if one of the people on your team is ever relegated to a point where they are just standing around waiting, I feel like any kind of dead space in the action, especially when the action gameplay of Anthem is one of its greatest strengths, is a missed opportunity. So I think there needs to be more ads, some action to fill the dead space.
You're just too good at your job, JD. That's all there is to it. Too good at your job. So real quick, if you do you guys want to talk about the free play events? Do you guys have much to say about them? Devon, do you just want to run down what the free play event is?
Yeah, so it's basically
in the PTS.
Yeah, it's a Shaper Storm. So it is what it is, and
just a little bit tall, just a little bit smaller. That's all.
Yeah, just a little bit smaller, but it's a pretty cool event. As you're going around, they pop up, and they're basically storm gates that you have to go through, and it teleports you to a new area, right? And so you have to go through, and you complete objectives inside the new area that you've been teleported to, and there are basically chests at the end of each phase. There's 3 phases. And I don't want to spoil it for a lot of people, but I mean, it's really fun. It was, for me, that was the funnest part of the PTS until my javelin could withstand the storm, and I could do whatever. Right. So now it's really fun to explore. But for me, that was like, okay, we played the Cataclysm. I was like, okay, we're doing some of these events and things, and I was kind of just like, well, it's not finished, so I'll reserve judgment on the other part, and I wasn't really getting too into it. And I was like, oh, this, basically Shaper Storm happened, and it was a lot of fun, and it's very repeatable. You can go and do that and have fun with the group of people you're playing with, and it was definitely has a good difficulty, something to work towards.
And the one thing I like about this event, you have a very clear goal at the end of this event. Yep. It's like, okay, you clear this wave, you get a chest. You clear this wave, you get a chest. You clear this wave, you get a chest. A lot of things in Anthem aren't so clear on what you're supposed to be doing, where you're supposed to be going, and what you're going to get from it. This event is it's like, hey, these are your rewards. You'll get them when you're done with this, and you don't have to fly around for forever looking for something to happen around you. Mm-hmm. It's a very clear event with a very defined objective, and I think we need more of that kind of stuff in Anthem right now.
It's very fun.
So regarding the chests, real quick, this didn't occur to me until just now, so I apologize. But I do kind of wish that it wasn't all chests all the time that we were getting the loot from. I know we get them after we kill a boss, in a stronghold or anything like that. But it would be nice to see some variety in how the loot is delivered. I know that the chest is pretty universal to video games, but are there other chest designs in Anthem, or do they all roughly look the same?
I think there's only 3 chest designs.
A couple, but
either way, it would be nice to see especially with this Cataclysm going on and this entire reality made, maybe opening a safe in the floor or a safe in the wall or something like that, something to break that up, because that is the thing that especially after EA Play, and I came back and I played Anthem for a bit. Doing all the world events was doing a bunch of world events. I finally got my Challenge of Valor completed, which was awesome. But doing all those world events, I kind of got tired of seeing the same chest. And maybe if it doesn't have to be a chest, if there are other alternatives that they could use in place of that to open up and have loot spring from it, I'd be open to that.
What idea would if you gave them feedback and they said, "Oh, what would you put in there that's not a chest?"
I mean, just things that because all things that if there are different designs for the chests, I haven't really noticed them, and they're all kind of shaped the same. maybe do a tall and skinny chest. Maybe do like
You're fine with the chest. You just
wardrobe?
want a different model, right? You just want it to look
yeah,
different.
just something because they all kind of feel the same, at least to me, and I feel like that's I don't know if it's a small enough, like if it's a smallish change to make, but I feel like there could be more variety in that because it just felt very, at least that part. I always like, oh, okay, here's a chest, open it. Oh, okay. I just felt like it could be something a little different. That's just a thought. I'm like,
That's an interesting complaint to have, JD. And like we tell everyone, it's like it's your feedback. You own it. If that's your feedback, that's fine. That's just an interesting thought because I mean, usually I'm just like, hey, go open the thing because there's a thing above it, and I've never thought about the feelings of a treasure chest. Maybe I should more. Maybe I should consider that more.
I did. I forgot to tell you something exciting. I got 2 new melee weapons, or basically.
Oh, you finally got some
I got some. They're purple.
from the
Cataclysm,
cataclysm, or from?
Yeah, I got 6 of them, and from playing today because it was raining loot all over when I was playing earlier. I got a bunch of. I was playing on normal, and I didn't just get weapon masterworks, so that was cool.
Nice.
But yeah, so I put those on, but it's still in the PTS, and so they still show up as 0. Even though they're purple, it still doesn't affect the gear score currently.
Interesting. So I actually have a very interesting question for you guys that this has been plaguing me even before a long time ago. We talked about the potential of Anthem having a PTR, and we got a PTS, so it's a little bit different. But I have a lot that I still need to do in the normal game. I still have to work on grinding out that insane amount of reputation in order to get my gold skin. But I find myself wanting to explore the PTS more because I kind of feel like, hey,
Yeah.
this is kind of our duty to be in here and help them figure out what this is going to be and find the bugs. So I'm neglecting my actual freelancer, and I don't know how. I'm like, well, should I split my time? Like, well, if I split my time, I really want to be doing this, but I want to be doing this. And I'm having an issue deciding on what I really want to do. Are you guys having the same issue, or is this just a me thing that I just don't have enough time?
I thought
do
about it,
everything
and
I
I
want?
was kind of the same thing where I was like, well, I'm spending all my time in the PTS, and I'm not really doing anything with the regular, but I was like, yeah, whatever. That'll be there. And, I mean, this playing the PTS, and the important thing is to actually give the feedback, and, you're playing it, and if you just talk to your friends about it, that doesn't really get to the devs. I mean, you need to go to their website, to the, what's it, Answers at EA?
Answers.hq.
Yeah, HQ.
EA Answers HQ.
Yeah, and go there and you give them your feedback from when you play the game so they can actually see it and collect that data and kind of make changes if changes need to be made. But I would rather, for me, playing the PTS right now is funner than playing through, the regular game. Because I can still do, strongholds and those kind of things in the PTS. I don't want to because I just want to go play in the Cataclysm or play in the free play Cataclysm events. So I think this is a good thing for me because when it does finally come out, I think it's going to be kind of the same reaction for a lot of people where they really want to spend time playing it and they're going to have a lot of fun with it. So,
I mean, do you think it'll kind of be refreshing to go from the PTS back to, when everything's said and done with this with this round of the PTS? Because we also don't know how much longer they're going to leave this one up for now.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I should just get over the fact that, hey, I'm not my hour counter isn't going up on the base game. I'm not getting that rep, but in the long run, this is more beneficial. And I can make this whole map so that when the Cataclysm does come out, we'll be able to hit those leaderboards nice and hard because we'll have everything mapped out already. So
well, I think,
maybe that's what.
The PTS is only going to be here for so long, right? So, I mean, it's better to play it while it's here than to regret not spending enough time in it, right? So, or if you feel like you've spent enough time with it and you're ready to go back to the regular game, I mean, do that. It is your gaming experience. But for me, like I said, we don't know when this is going to go down, and honestly, for me, it's been up longer than I expected. So,
I agree. And there's more secrets to find. Mike, do you have this problem, or is this is not a Mike problem?
Not a mic problem.
All right. So not a mic problem. So are you playing PTS or are you doing just normal game?
Currently PTS.
Okay. So I want to talk about EA Play real quick. We'll talk about this. We're already at an hour, so we'll kind of start wrapping it up with our experience at EA Play 2019. So I actually had a fun time. I really enjoy like the drive. Like, I mean, we could fly out there if we wanted to, but I kind of enjoy driving. You just get a lot of time to talk and to hang out and make those kind of memories. So that was a fun part of the trip. But things that we enjoyed about EA Play. So we'll start with you, JD. Things that you enjoyed, and then we'll talk about the things that we liked, the things we didn't like, and then I kind of have an interesting question towards the end of this for you all.
So what I really enjoyed about EA Play was meeting all of the people that I got to meet. Everybody from William to Ash to Mulehorn to Binary Numb. I loved meeting a lot of the developers for BioWare this year. I mean, when we went to EA Play last year, we were known to some of the developers at BioWare, but we were not on like in-person conversation status. Like Ben Irving was just a dude at the front of the tent showing off the gameplay demo. But like to actually shake hands with him, talk with him for a while, talk with Chad Robertson, talk with Christopher Morgan, Chris Schmidt, everybody that we met at from BioWare at EA Play. That was awesome for me, especially since I've been a fan of EA. Not a fan of EA.
JD is the biggest fan of EA ever.
You're still,
but
you can't walk that back, JD.
Especially since I've been a fan of BioWare for a very long time, and I actually kind of felt a little bit bad because I stepped out of something to answer a phone call, and when I stepped out, I realized that Casey Hudson was sitting there talking with Chad Robertson, and I was I ended up going back in,
right now.
and I popped out. I popped back out because I was like, I didn't want to interrupt him, but at the same time, he's a person that I've really wanted to meet because the road to where I am now on this podcast and like with BioWare and everything started with the E3 2006 video revealing Mass Effect, and it was narrated by Casey Hudson. And I was like, if I don't take this opportunity, I may not get a chance to meet him later. And sure enough, he wasn't there after that something was over. But I got to meet him. I got to shake his hand. I didn't feel like it was an appropriate time for a picture because I kind of interrupted, politely interrupted the conversation. But I did kind of feel a little bit bad because I was way more excited to meet Casey than when I had met Chad Robertson the previous day. But
I mean, you couldn't feel bad for meeting, a hero that you've had for a long time. You should have felt bad about that.
Chad and I, we talked about it later, and it's like one of those things where it's like I've been a fan of BioWare for the last 13, 14 years, and Casey Hudson is like one of the first developers whose name I even knew. And to like actually meet him and like shake his hand, and for him to like know who I was and know who the Freelancer Codex podcast was, like that was insane to me. And honestly, that was like the most motivating and like just totally invigorating part of the event for me, because I'm like, I gotta go all in. Like I gotta do this more. Like this was awesome. Yeah, that's me. Everybody else go. I'm out.
He's gonna cry. Hold on.
All right, just go to mute your mic. Devin, favorite part of the show this year?
Favorite part?
The part where we didn't die on the road?
Well, there was we didn't want to get into that, or Mike won't ever talk to us again. But
that's true. He might not.
No, it was a lot of fun. EA Play was really cool for me. Like getting into the Creators Cave and getting to play on those sweet computers back there. I was like, wow, I really like my computer, but dang, this is a nice computer with their 144 hertz 4K monitors. And it was like HDR and just it's so nice. And I mean, it's just cool. I saw a couple celebrities in the media lounge, and it's not like I didn't, I was like, I shouldn't go up and see them, but I'm going to take a slide picture on the side and be like, look who I
did you
saw.
see in the media lounge? Who did you see?
So one of one of them that I saw, you probably won't even know who this is. His name's Scott Porter.
No, I probably won't.
So he's in.
Oh yeah, Scott Porter from that one thing.
He's in, he was he's in a bunch of different TV shows. He's in plays and different things. But he goes to EA Play every single year. And the only reason I know that he's an actor is
Wait, was he in Heart of Dixie?
he was, yeah.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, so he goes there every year, and so I saw him there, and there was, I can't even remember what this rapper's name was, but he was back there. I don't know.
50 Cent.
No, it was not 50 Cent.
Um,
But anyway, it was one of the newer rappers, but anyways, it didn't matter. But it was just cool, going in there. Oh yeah, Trevor Noah was there, like your Anthem said, and it was a lot of fun being there with other people. Also, so during our capture event, the Xbox briefing was on. It was pretty distracting, so I think that's why we lost. Honestly,
no, it was very
But-
distracting.
It was very distracting.
it was really cool being in a room with all these same people that just love video games and reacting with a large group of people to announcements coming out of the Xbox briefing. And it was just a lot of fun. I mean, usually E3 before, last couple of years before we started going down there, I would watch them with my friends and we would be chatting or texting back and forth. And that's cool. But being in a room with, 100 people that are all reacting at the same time to the same experience was just fun. And I really enjoyed it. So
People lost their minds when
yeah,
Keanu Reeves,
Keanu
showed
Reeves
up.
was pretty awesome.
That was
That was-
easily.
That was cool.
That was the best.
It was a fun moment. Mike, one of your favorite moments at EA Play, or what was your favorite moment at EA Play?
It was fun just being around people who were close to Anthem and having them know who we were. That's always a surreal moment, and it was just fun being around them and getting to talk about stuff. I enjoyed it. This is not usually the world that I'm in, but it's been fun to be around.
No, it was a lot of fun. I mean, the event. It's a very interesting event, I guess, because I've been thinking a lot about EA Play, like who that event is for, like who should attend this event, because it is not an event that I would suggest if you like live out of town. I don't think you should go to EA Play, right? It's super far.
Unless
If
you
you're
get
getting
there real
just
early.
like if you're just getting a normal pass, like that line is crazy long. It's mostly in the sun all the time. And so once you get through that line, then you get into the line where you can actually play a game. And they like this year in particular, they didn't have any hands-on experiences that you would actually be like, hey, I got to play this brand new game that's coming out. I mean, you could play Anthem, you could play FIFA, you could play Madden, you could play The Sims. Fallen Order, they were just showing a video for, just like they did with Anthem last year. So it's hard to say like, hey, you should go out there and do that. With that being said, like being there was a lot of fun, probably because we didn't have to wait in those lines. So people can call, we lost all credibility because we didn't have to wait in the in that long line or whatever. But I mean, I really enjoyed being there. I enjoyed talking with the devs. But I don't know if it's an event that I could recommend that anyone could go to unless you like live in LA or if you're anywhere.
I can see it
close
as
to
like
LA.
a one-time event. Like, hey, you're gonna go all the way out there and you're gonna go check this out. And it's you go to it. It's something you've watched or you look forward to going to. You get to experience it that first time. But I wouldn't want to go to E3 with a regular ticket. Like I went there 2 or 3 years ago to E3, and it was really cool. It's something I'd wanted to do for most of my life, and it was a really cool moment for me and my buddy that got to go. But being there with the 70,000 people crammed into that space after the first day was not really that enjoyable, So I think if you really want to go and it's something you look forward to every year, maybe go one time and see what it's about. But you're not going to be able to do everything you want to do, but you're still going to be able to have, somewhat of a okay experience. But you're going to have to, take some time and actually work towards getting to what you want when you go there.
Right, and I think I had a thought, and then my thought left me. I think if you want to meet developers, like they had Respawn developers were signing for Apex, So if you want to get in line for that, I mean, like the Apex booth was the biggest booth that they had this year. They had merchandise for Apex. They had signings from the developers for Apex. So if that was your jam this year, I could see like saying, hey, yeah, I want to go there. I want to get this stuff signed and kind of just check it out. I mean, they weren't showing off a ton. Like they showed off, their battle pass for season 2, which I don't think that's even worth going there. It's an interesting event that not being part of the big E3 show just kind of makes it a little bit weird, I guess. I don't know. Like it's hard to say. Like I said, if you live there, yeah, go for it, but just plan on, you know what, this is what this is. You're talking about longer lines than trying to get on Indiana Jones in the morning. So
I had different thoughts that I typed in the sheet here, but honestly, like for me, it's kind of like, so I went to Anime Expo a couple of times, once in 2008, once in 2012, and I hated it the second time. I loved it the first time, hated it the second time. Too many people absolutely hated it. I ended up going back in 2016 because I had the opportunity to work for an animation studio from Japan, and working at the Anime Expo kind of ruined me for conventions, because it's like you get to like bypass the crowds, you get to bypass the lines, you get to do a bunch of stuff that makes the entire event more convenient. And although I put in the notes of like, considering that the fan tickets are free, if you get one and you live in the area, like I guess it's worth it. But I would say that, like, for me, I'm kind of biased in the opinion of like, we had access to certain places. We didn't have to deal with that line. Like there's a lot that was a little bit more convenient for us because it had to be for time reasons, that make it a lot better for us. So I think with those things out of the way, I would definitely say that it's maybe not even worth it if you live in the area. I feel like the event could be significantly improved to make it a little bit more comfortable for the people that are there. Like especially like the back half of the event, as you're getting closer to the exit, it kind of feels like they just failed to properly optimize all that space because they're too busy like focusing on the lines. And then like there was so much space dedicated to Apex Legends, and I'm like,
well,
it's super popular.
There should be this year. Yeah. I mean, there should be dedicated space to Apex, especially because they're announcing their new stuff. But I mean, like at one point I was standing in line and I was directing people where to go. That's just kind of how the show turned out. So
yeah,
I mean,
too.
you kind of help where you can. But one of the things that I wanted,
and people just assume you work there.
yeah, and one of the things that I did want to talk about. So we had the opportunity to go do a feedback session with the developers that were there. We got to play the game and they invited us back to do a feedback session. One thing, and I bring this up for this reason, we can't talk about it because it's under NDA or whatever, and they'll get really mad at us and they'll stop paying us all that money that EA pays us.
Steven must be pocketing all this money.
It's true, I am. But one thing that I do want to say to everyone that's out there while Michael lets out this really big sigh is that there's an idea on Reddit with the last remaining people that hate the game, that because they're having influencers or YouTube personalities give direct feedback, that they're not listening to the feedback of everyone else. And everything that we heard during this session is just completely not true. They're listening to all the feedback that's coming in. They're reading Reddit, they're reading Twitter, they're on the EA Answer forums looking at that feedback. I mean, because they can't respond to every single person that sends them messages does not mean that they're not listening, because the developers are really passionate about the game, and that was pretty evident. I mean, you could be pretty cynical and say, well, of course they're going to say that to your face, but really they hate the game and they hate the players and they want everyone to die, right? You could be that person, but I choose to give people the benefit of the doubt when I talk to them face to face. So they are listening. So one thing that, and they keep saying, you know what, play the PTS, give us your feedback, we'll look at it, we'll implement what we can. And I think a lot of times we think that just because we have, all this feedback that they have to listen to us. I mean, they have design philosophies that as developers, like they want to stick with those a lot of the times, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to course correct if their fan base says they want X. So I
Mhm.
mean, they're listening. Give them the feedback. If you don't want to go on to EA forums to provide that feedback, we set up a Discord channel just labeled feedback. Type it in there. We'll type it up and we'll send it on for you. Because I know a lot of times people just don't want to go on, log into something else, put in feedback. A lot of times that website, kind of crashes and gets buggy. So send it over to the feedback. We'll do it for you and we'll send it on for you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that we are completely willing to do because they're listening to the feedback. Okay.
Well,
End rant. Go ahead, Devon.
yeah. So I think another thing people forget is all these influencers and everybody else. They have large communities of people that talk to them or comment whenever they're doing videos and other things, and they can see what their people are saying to them, and they can bring that information as well. I mean, the whole point of having focus groups is to talk to these specific individuals. Like I said, I mean, they can't talk to everybody, but they've made it available for everyone to give their feedback. They've provided a place and a location. All you have to do is log in and type in what you want to tell them about the game and how you feel about whatever it is in the game. And I think people that get upset that they talk to game changers or influencers just miss the point that these people represent their entire communities. Like when they go there, you bring with you the feelings of your community and the thoughts of your community, and that's like you said. There's places to do that. We have a place, in our Discord where you can come in and share that, and we'll be more than happy to pass that on to them. And it's a great place to have a conversation about what you think of what's going on in the game and your feedback, and discussing it with other people and bouncing those ideas off. And really, that's what the developers need. Is they can only see so much of the game. As players, we're going to spend way more time in it than they can because there's so many more of us than there are of them, obviously. And so they need our feedback to be able to help direct the game. We can't just complain and not give them any feedback and just, expect them to just figure it out, so.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we provided the best feedback out of anyone there. I mean, that's my opinion. So, I mean, that's what I'm going to stick with. Definitely the best feedback. So,
And
real quick,
again, we're not going to change who we are as people just to be overtly negative or toxic about something, just because just because some people might have a very emotional response or I guess filter to the feedback that they give doesn't mean that we have to. I mean, it's a personal choice of how overtly negative or toxic we choose to be. We don't it's like making the choice to talk without swearing, it's possible. I mean, does everybody do it? No. Does that make what you're saying any less valid? Not really. But the whole thing is that it does affect how people listen to you. Okay, if you're somebody that's just spewing out, swear words left and right, people, if they're not into that, they may not listen to anything you say. I mean, we choose to give feedback in the way that we give feedback because that's just who we are as people. We believe in being polite. We believe in giving constructive criticism, and we believe in, even when we're being negative, to voice our negative opinions without being rude to the people that are hearing them. They are people with their own lives, their own things that they are going through. Their life does not begin and end with this game, even though some people on the internet do. So
sounds like just being an adult or a good adult.
True.
Yeah,
so,
just being a decent
anyway,
person.
So real quick, I want to make sure that our community knows that we went to bat for you guys. Every developer that we talked to, we brought up the wooden javelin skin. So
Heck
eventually,
yes.
maybe it'll happen. Who knows? We'll see. Okay. So real quick, I want to finish this up because Mike's got that look on his face. Predictions that we did for, I'm hearing a weird echo. So predictions that we had for EA Play, we'll just go through these really quick and we'll see who the ultimate winner was. And then they're going to win a big prize here. So Mike, will you go through our first predictions here and then we'll rank who got these points and who did not get points from our predictions?
Predictions number 1. Steven predicted that we would get a sneak peek at a new javelin.
I'm pretty bummed out that this didn't happen.
not
I was
happen.
expecting maybe a tiny little trailer. I mean, this would be the thing that, hey, here we got new javelins coming. So 0 points for me for that one. That sucks.
Devon predicted that there would be a wooden javelin wrap.
Wah, wah. Bummer.
Nope, that also didn't happen. Next time, maybe.
Maybe.
I predicted that we will be getting more content around the Urgoth.
So also did not happen, unfortunately.
JD predicted that at least 2 new strongholds would be released by the end of the summer.
That's definitely not going to
No,
happen.
that's not happening.
We might get the Cataclysm towards the end of the summer.
Steven
August.
predicted that he would be walked in by 3 people in the bathroom.
Oh, I have a bathroom story.
Oh no! Really?
I do.
Really?
So I didn't get walked in by anyone, right? So we went to an Angels Mariners game while we were there, which was a ton of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
You know, 3 back-to-back home runs. That place exploded. I don't think you ever get that kind of excitement anywhere else, right? Except in a stadium like that with a bunch of home fans. Super fun game. So I'm going to go to the bathroom. And I mean, these are like old school bathrooms. You guys remember back in, I don't know, years and years and years ago, they'd have just like these urinals lined up. There's no privacy, just one right next to each other. I mean, if you like barely move to the left, you're going to knock someone's aim off, right? So I walk in there and it like immediately walked through the door and there's this dude looking over at the entrance. He's doing his business. He's got his stuff in his hand and he's just like 45-degree angle with the urinal, staring at the entrance, making eye contact with every single person that walks through that door. And it was the weirdest thing. I had no idea like why he was doing it, if he was like purposely creeping people out. But I was like, stop dead in my tracks. Like, what, do I have something on myself? Like, what's going on? I was like, nope, just put your head down, walk over, and every single person, eye contact.
You should have
as they
stood
came in
right next to
with the
that
stuff
dude.
in his
Chose
hand.
the urinal right next to him.
There's no way I'm going anywhere close to that guy ever again. No, not going to happen. It was the weirdest thing I ever encountered in a bathroom. No, maybe not. Anyway, so I got a 0 on that one.
Devon predicted that we would be able to play Anthem for a full hour.
Yeah,
I guess we kind of did do that, didn't we?
We
Yeah,
sure
that's-
did.
How many points So, Devin, you got 5 points for that because I did not think we were going to be able to do that. I thought it was going to be like
Lack
30-minute
of faith
sessions.
is
and that was it.
disturbing, but I appreciate it.
But granted, if you went through that line as someone that just got in and wanted to play the game, you only had 20 minutes. So,
Yep.
Other people were not so lucky as us. All right, next one, Mike.
I predicted that we would get never before seen cinematics and or cutscenes.
And that was also kind of sad that didn't happen. I mean, it would have been perfect if it was a cinematic cutscene of a new javelin with a wooden skin, but that didn't happen. JD? JD's second prediction, Mike.
JD thought that it would be cloudy.
So was it cloudy?
No.
I mean, when we got there, yeah. I remember making the comment to you, Steven, like when we were waiting to go in.
So were those clouds or was that fog? Was that just like the
I said cloudy. I did not
haze.
say overcast or foggy. I said cloudy. I know what I said, Steven.
What do you think, Devin?
I don't know. I don't know about that, JD.
It was cloudy when we got there. All right.
To
Maybe
California?
Still in
half of
chat.
his 5 points?
We'll give you half the points. We'll
give him half of the points because I mean
I
cloudy.
bet reach
eh.
out. Fake news. I'm out.
Fake news.
I'm out.
All right,
Steven.
so let's see. Go ahead.
Steven predicted that there would be 10 or more stormtroopers walking around.
I don't know how this wasn't a thing. I mean, we had two stormtroopers there, right? I mean, biggest game that they're announcing, and there's only 2 stormtroopers there. I mean, they had the whole Apex squad in cosplay while they were there.
Yep.
And we only get 2 stormtroopers.
And those weren't
I
even
mean, there's like-
stormtroopers. They were, what were they
They're
called?
like the Death Squad troopers.
They had a
I
specific
mean, they
name
could
for
have
them.
invited the whole. So what's the cosplay crew that does all the stormtrooper stuff? It's like the 504th. I mean, that could have been a thing, but
Yeah.
they weren't there. So anyway, 0 points for me.
Devin thought that we would have trouble getting into EA Play.
I vote first.
You vote first.
No, 501st Legion.
501st. Okay, I thought 504, 501st. All right.
We did not have
0 points for
trouble
Devin. Mike, your
getting
next
in.
one.
I thought there would be a photo op with javelins.
There was
Also
not.
zeros.
And JD thought that the featured store would get some changes.
Man, we are terrible at predictions. Like I would assume that a lot of these things were going to happen, but I guess EA just kind of it's like, nope, all these predictions.
They
are
heard the
gonna be wrong.
podcast and they're like, cut that.
So Devin, you ended up winning with 5 points. Congratulations on your predictions. I mean, this was a pretty sad showing from all of us. Mike and I throwing up goose eggs there, and JD with a a courtesy 2.5 points. So.
It was cloudy bad. How dare
It's like
you?
cloudy for an hour.
If you asked William with all of his sunscreen if it was cloudy, I don't know.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that guy would get burned in the snow. Are you kidding me? Come on.
Burned in the snow. All right,
love
real
you,
quick
William,
to
but-
end this train wreck of a podcast that we have going on over here. So real quick, lore section as I was going through this. This is titled The Faithful. This is in the histories that you can go through and find. There's a giant statue of a ranger out there with a sword. So you guys have flown past this a ton of times. You've seen it. You'll know it whenever you fly back the next time. So this is the lore blurb for The Faithful. It says, this enormous statue was built to honor the faithful of the Haven, those who chose to stay at the Legion's first stronghold when the Urgoth attacked. Though the Haven had been evacuated, 50-odd faithful, made of lancers, healers, pages, and cooks, stayed to create the illusion of protecting the population, drawing the enemy's attention away from Tarsus's effort to move hundreds of refugees to the Fortress of Dawn. Few survived, but the legend lives on. And on that note, freelancers, I think there's a Shaper Storm on the horizon. We'll see you on the other side.
Later.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. You can find us on Twitter at Freelancer Codex, on Facebook at Freelancer Codex, or through email at freelancercodex@gmail.com. Join the Discord through the link provided at freelancercodex.com. Our show will always be free, but if you'd like to send some support, you may do so at patreon.com/freelancercodex. Our individual Twitter handles are at Stephen Lamson, at mlamson25, at Neverfear, and at JD the Joke Dealer. Freelancers, it's time to get to work.